General Varketh stood in the command center of the Hegemony flagship, staring at the tactical display with all 6 of his eyes. 1,000 battles. 1,000 victories. Across 3-star systems and 47 inhabited worlds, his name was whispered with reverence and terror, and right now, he was looking at something that made absolutely no sense whatsoever. "Explain this to me again," he said slowly, his mandibles clicking in irritation. "Slowly, because I want to make sure I heard you correctly the first time." His intelligence officer, a nervous queller named Drex, pulled up the data streams. "Sir, the human garrison on outpost Kappa 7 consisted of exactly 43 soldiers. We sent in battalion strength. 200 of our finest warriors." Yes, Varketh waved a claw dismissively. "I authorized that assault myself. Standard, overwhelming force doctrine." What went wrong? Drex's skin flushed a pale green, which in his species indicated extreme discomfort. "They are all dead, sir." "Who is dead?" "Our warriors, sir." "All of them." Varketh blinked. Once. Twice. Then all 6 eyes at different intervals because his brain refused to process that statement. "All. 200 hegemony shock troops. Defeated by 43 humans." "Not exactly, sir." "Oh, thank the void." For a moment there I thought, "It was 1 human, sir." The general's secondary hearts skipped several beats. He turned very, very slowly to face his intelligence officer. "Repeat that." "1 human. A Private Marcus Webb. According to the combat logs we recovered, Drex consulted his data pad, clearly wishing he was anywhere else in the galaxy. "He was eating something called a breakfast burrito when our assault began. And he finished eating it. Then he dealt with our entire battalion. The whole engagement lasted 12 minutes. Varketh felt a headache building behind his primary ocular cluster. In 1,000 battles, he had never felt quite this level of confusion mixed with dawning horror. 12 minutes. "Yes, sir. Would you like to see the recovered footage?" "No." "Yes." "No." "Wait." The general sat down heavily in his command chair. "Is this some kind of joke? Did Lieutenant Praxis put you up to this? Because if this is another one of his morale-building exercises, I swear by the ancients, it is not a joke, sir." Drex activated the holographic display. The footage was grainy but clear enough. A fairly average-looking human male, wearing what appeared to be hastily donned armor over sleep clothes, moved through the outpost corridors like death itself had taken physical form. He carried 2 weapons. Just 2. Not even the heavy plasma cannons the humans were known for. Simple kinetic rifles. And he did not miss. Not once. "Freeze that," Varketh commanded. Drex paused the feed. "What is he doing there?" "That appears to be..." "Sir, he is yawning." "He is yawning while shooting 3 of my soldiers. Without looking at them. The humans call it muscle memory, sir." Varketh watched the rest of the footage in stunned silence. This Private Webb moved like someone who had done this so many times it had become boring. He cleared corners with casual efficiency. He reloaded while running. At one point, he stopped to tie his bootlace while using one hand to blind fire down a corridor, taking out 4 hegemony warriors who were attempting to flank him. "How is this possible?" Varketh whispered. Drex pulled up another file. "We accessed their communication logs, sir." Apparently, Private Webb was complaining that this was supposed to be his rest rotation. His what? His rest rotation. He had just come off active duty from the contested fringe. Varketh knew about the contested fringe. Every military commander in the quadrant knew about the contested fringe. It was a nightmare sector where 3 different species were fighting over resource-rich asteroid fields. Constant combat. No rules. No mercy. How long was he stationed there? 6 standard months, sir. 6 months. Varketh did some quick mental calculations. And his combat record? Drex's skin went from pale green to nearly white. Over 1,000 confirmed kills, sir. Just from last week alone. The command center went silent. Even the background hum of the ship's systems seemed to fade away. Someone dropped a data pad. It clattered loudly in the quiet. "Last week," Varketh repeated, his voice flat. "Yes, sir. The week before that was similar. And the week before that. Sir, the human military does not consider Private Webb exceptional. He is ranked in the middle of his unit for combat effectiveness." "The middle?" "Yes, sir. There are humans with higher scores." Varketh felt something he had not experienced in his entire military career. something cold and unfamiliar settling into his gut. It took him a moment to recognize it. Fear. Pull up everything we have on human military doctrine, he ordered quietly. I want to know exactly what we are dealing with here. As his staff scrambled to comply, Varketh stared at the frozen image of Private Webb. The human looked tired, annoyed, like someone who had been woken up too early and forced to deal with an inconvenience. Not like a warrior who had just slaughtered 200 elite soldiers. That, Varketh realized, was the truly terrifying part. 3 days later, Varketh wished he had never asked for that intelligence briefing. Let me make absolutely certain I understand this, he said, rubbing his temples with 2 of his 4 hands. Humans do not consider Private Webb a soldier. They consider him a clerk who happens to carry a gun. His new intelligence officer, Drex, having requested an immediate transfer to botanical survey duties, nodded enthusiastically. This one was named Krill, and she seemed far too excited about the whole situation. Exactly, sir. His primary job is inventory management. The shooting is just something he does when people interrupt his work. When people interrupt his work, Varketh repeated slowly. He looked at the service record displayed on the screen. It says here he has logged complaints about excessive combat interfering with his supply requisitions. Yes, sir. He filed 17 formal grievances last month alone. Apparently, the constant fighting was making it difficult to maintain accurate spreadsheets. Varketh stared at her. He cares more about spreadsheets than survival. Oh no, sir. He cares about both. He is just very, very good at the survival part. So good that it barely registers as a concern anymore. Krill pulled up more data with disturbing enthusiasm. Look at this. His unit commander tried to give him a commendation for valor, and he turned it down because the ceremony would have conflicted with a scheduled inventory audit. This cannot be real. It gets better, sir. Krill was practically bouncing now. We intercepted a communication from Private Webb to his family. He apologized for not writing sooner because, and I quote, some aliens showed up and made a bunch of noise during breakfast, end quote. A bunch of noise. Varketh felt his mandibles twitch. He described our carefully planned military assault as noise. Sir, if I may. Krill's excitement dimmed slightly, replaced by something approaching genuine concern. We need to reconsider our entire strategy regarding the humans. You think? The sarcasm dripped from every word. Sir, we have been approaching this all wrong. We assumed humans were like us, that their best soldiers were rare, elite. But according to everything we have gathered, their military doctrine is completely different. Varketh leaned forward. Explain. Humans do not have elite soldiers, sir. They have regular soldiers, and they train them all to be absolutely terrifying. Do you know what their basic training involves? Enlighten me. They take ordinary citizens, people who were working in shops or schools or farms, and they break them down completely. Then they rebuild them into something that can function under any circumstances. Sleep deprivation, starvation, extreme stress. They do this for months. And that is just basic training, sir. Before they even see combat. Varketh felt his headache intensifying. Go on. Then they send them to places like the contested fringe, where combat is not occasional. It is constant. Every single day, sometimes every hour. And the humans who survive. Krill's voice dropped. They become like Private Webb. Efficient, calm, completely desensitized to violence. It becomes as natural as breathing. So what you are telling me, Varketh said quietly, is that we are not fighting their best. We are fighting their average. Yes, sir. And their average is 1,000 kills per week. The command center had gone silent again. Varketh noticed that several of his officers were suddenly very interested in their stations, avoiding eye contact. How many humans are in their military? Krill consulted her data pad. Active duty? Approximately 8 million. Reserves? Another 20 million. And sir, every single one of them went through that same training. Varketh did the math, then did it again because surely he had made an error. That is 28 million Private Webbs. More or less, sir. Though statistically some are better than him. Better? Yes, sir. Much better. Would you like to see the file on Sergeant Torres? She holds the record for no. Varketh stood abruptly. No, I absolutely do not want to know. What I want to know is why nobody caught this before we declared war on these lunatics. Krill winced. In fairness, sir, their diplomatic corps is very polite. Nothing in their behavior suggested they were all quietly competent at extreme violence. That is because they were being polite. Varketh began pacing. Of course they were polite. When you can kill 200 soldiers before finishing breakfast, you can afford to be polite. You do not need to threaten anyone. You are the threat. His communication officer suddenly sat up straight. Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the human fleet. Varketh stopped pacing. They sent a fleet? How big? Just one ship, sir. A frigate. They are requesting to speak with you directly. Of course they only sent one ship. Why would they need more? Varketh straightened his uniform and tried to look dignified. Put them through. The screen flickered to life, showing a human female in a crisp uniform. She smiled pleasantly. General Varketh, I presume? I am Captain Lisa Grant of the Terran Navy. We received word that you might be interested in discussing a ceasefire. A ceasefire, Varketh said carefully. Yes, we would be very interested in discussing terms. Wonderful. We are so glad you are being reasonable about this. Her smile never wavered. We were concerned there might be further misunderstandings. Private Webb was quite apologetic about the incident at Outpost Kappa 7, by the way. He wanted me to pass along that he hopes your soldiers did not suffer unnecessarily. How considerate, Varketh managed. We think so. Now, about those terms. We propose an immediate withdrawal of all hegemony forces from the border sectors. In exchange, we promise not to file any formal complaints about the unprovoked attack. Does that sound acceptable? It sounded more than acceptable. It sounded like a miracle. Yes, absolutely. We can have our fleet moving within the hour. Perfect. Captain Grant's smile brightened even further. We appreciate your cooperation, General. Oh, and one more thing. Private Webb wanted me to mention that if you could schedule any future wars to avoid breakfast time, he would consider that a personal favor. Apparently, he gets cranky when his morning routine is disrupted. The transmission ended. Varketh sat down heavily and began drafting the withdrawal orders. Behind him, he could hear Krill humming cheerfully as she updated the intelligence files. 1,000 battles of experience, Varketh thought bitterly. And the most important lesson came from Battle 1001. Never, ever interrupt a human during breakfast.